This is part 2. Make sure you check out part 1. The link is in the description below, or hit the thumbnail right there, and enjoy. What does revenue look like on a month-to-month in those different times? Have you worked with any Instagram influencers?
You could actually sell on Instagram without any budget. On the vintage, the markup is a little higher. Don't overbuy. You don't want to be sitting on inventory forever. I mean, you hear that location, but after being in this for a while and really doing it, and also having another shop in a different area, it is critical. You could probably start a clothing brand for about $10,000.
You've got a lot of presence on Instagram. Have you worked with any Instagram influencers? If so, what was the process of you connecting with them? How did that happen for you?
I know in the last couple of years, a lot of people are paying to have Instagram influencers. I, so far, have not paid any Instagram influencers. We have had a lot of influencers, which kind of just happened organically.
Okay, interesting.
We have a few different Seahawks players that shop here continuously.
That's cool.
You know, also like Nate Robinson has shopped here a few times. These people continue to shop here, and they'll just repost stuff on Instagram. So it ends up, giving us that boost. So like I said, a lot of that's organic.
Very cool. So these people they know you from your Instagram.
Well, the other thing is this area here during normal season is a huge place for artists, music artists. There's some of the top venues in the city are actually within blocks of where we are here. So also Block Party every summer brings artists from around the world. It's a huge production on this block. So we get a lot of different artists who come into the shop, and I've had some of the people who were like my favorite artists, and somebody just, threw on my shirt and hat just because he was cool and didn't want anything from it. And then you got other people who refuse to take pictures, who, they might not want anybody knowing that they're here.
Right.
And they're too big, because once they find out they're here, then it'll be...
You got a flock of people coming in. Interesting. Well, let's get down into more of the technical things. Talking about this shop, how much sweat equity would I or our viewers need to get started in starting a clothing brand?
Yes, for sure.
First question. And the second follow-up on that is hours invested. If you could remember what you invested then versus what you're doing now. I know quite a bit it's changed. Yeah,
it's going to require, up late, up early, a lot of research. I said I had a corporate job. I would, work 4 10-hour days. The other days I was doing my other business. After work, I was doing my other business. So it's gonna take a lot of time. It's hard to balance sometimes, because it's gonna require a lot of energy and effort.
Touch on the sweat equity. Is it 20,000? Do you think that's realistic? Is it 50,000? Is it 5,000 when we're talking about clothing lines?
Just to be clear, to start a shop or
clothing brand? It could be in your room, in your house, for example. That's a start for many, I would think, right?
Yeah. You could probably start a clothing brand for about $10,000.
You've got a number of products here. We're curious about sourcing these brands that you either collab with, they sell in your store, you sell in their store. Tell us what that process looks like for you. Do you choose everyone? If not, what do you look for? And what are the profit margins on other brands in your store?
Sure. So it works a couple different ways. On the vintage, the markup is a little higher. So it's usually 3 times, what we bought it for. On the vintage, it's a lot higher margin on the vintage. But on the new brands that we carry, I have an account with Mitchell & Ness. We work with Ebbets Field Flannel. Those are Keystone, so it's just 50%. You double your profit.
Okay, that's still a pretty good profit.
On general retail. And then, like I said, vintage is a little higher. And that's kind of the bulk of what we do. About 70% vintage, and then the rest is accounts and retail. And then we have our own local in-store brand. That's about 15%.
All right, Rio, you ready for Blitz? 5 questions,
Yeah.
no more than 10 seconds to answer each one.
Okay.
Oops, almost dropped that. I'll ask you the first one. If you could change one thing about your business, what would it be?
Lifelong rent, cheap.
Free? Okay, that's a good ask, what business book has changed your life?
Jack Canfield. It's a Jack Canfield book. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a business book,
Right.
but
At
the
least a book.
tools that I've acquired from it.
Jack Canfield, what's the name of it?
Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Oh man, I know that one. What's the biggest misconception people have about starting and running a clothing brand?
That anybody could do it.
Okay. Tell me one thing about your business you wouldn't want your customers to know.
Where my secret vintage resource is.
That's the gold. That's the golden egg,
That's
right?
the big question every day. Where do you get this? Like that comes up like 3 times a day.
Okay.
Where do you guys get all this stuff? I wish I would have held on to this. You know what I mean?
Trade secret, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then name one object that you would like forever to eternally disappear from planet Earth.
I just say garbage on the street.
It's a good one. I like it. So let's talk about the seasonality of your business. Do you have slow seasons, busy seasons, and what does revenue look like on a month-to-month in those different times?
There's always really busy seasons and there's always slow seasons. Historically, January and February are the slower seasons. December, always the busiest season, upwards of, at least 20K on a December.
Versus what's January?
Versus a slower month. So, what you want to do is kind of hold on to, some of your money on January and February, and you want to hold off on buying. So, we're constantly buying here and we're putting out new product. And so January and February, I try to buy less. I know starting off, that was took me a while to learn, is like how to be more strategic with buying and how much to hold on to backstock. So I'm learning to keep my inventory a lot tighter during certain seasons, like specifically slower seasons. So like I said, you kind of want to save from the busier months when the slower months come. And then also those are opportunities to do other things that you didn't do on those busier months, like I was mentioning, pop-up shops. We might hold pop-up shops, bring other events to the shop during the slow seasons.
Increase the sales.
To increase traffic.
So let's talk really quick about Instagram. I'm thinking, were you spending $500, $1,000 to bring that traffic? Tell us what that looks like for you.
We do use some of the promotions on Instagram, but the cool thing, you can actually use Instagram as free to use. Wow. Instagram is constantly changing, and of course they have to make money just like everybody else, and so they're figuring out new ways to sell through Instagram. But for the last couple of years, you could sell on Instagram and not have to pay anything.
Wow.
Like I was saying, we'll do promotions on certain posts or certain sales or events. We'll boost a post, anywhere from $20 to $50 a day to promote a certain ad. But other than that, you could actually sell on Instagram without any budget.
Any cost to it. Guys, I want to talk to you for a second. Maybe you're stuck thinking you do need a budget, but Rio's just telling us there's tools out there that may not cost you anything. So we want you to comment on that. Please comment below with your story, your experience. We read all of those comments, and I'm sure all the other viewers do as well. What's the best seller in your store as far as apparel? Headwear, outerwear?
Yeah. I'd have to say number one seller is hats, headwear. We sell a lot of hats. We pretty much sell hats daily. Some people think we're a hat store just looking in the window because we carry a lot of hats. So. Yeah, hats definitely hands down the biggest seller for sure.
And that's the vintage with the possible 2 to 3 times profit, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Pretty cool.
Yep.
And then what would be the second one down?
Second one down, just local stuff in general. Sonics is a top seller, Seattle Supersonics, even though we don't have a team any longer. Still number one of the number one things here. Nice. And local stuff.
A lot of raving fans.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys, I really want to recommend our blog, upflip.com/blog. Make sure you check it out. And we've got an upcoming hub where you can learn to start, grow, and scale your business from real experts step by step. It's there for you. It's coming soon. Take us further. I see
for sure.
Down here.
So down here, as I was saying, we just partnered up with Ebbets Field Flannels. This is all newly manufactured merchandise. So this is technically they make stuff, to look vintage, but it's actually replicated from the original pieces. So just for example, they wardrobe like some of the Jackie Robinson film. There's like a Jackie Robinson All-Star jacket up here. Just incredible, like the the garments, the quality.
And
this
what
is
something like that run here?
this is
cost-wise?
like 200 to 215 on the jerseys.
Okay.
And then the hats are all wool. We have fitted, and we have also strap back
back there?
for each
Okay.
style. These run 49 on the hats.
Man, this is really cool. New York Knights, 1939.
And then, yeah,
Kansas City
here
Cats,
we have
1960.
a QR code. So if you actually scan this,
Okay.
it'll give you history about each hat and tell you a little bit more. Because these are all teams,
Let's do it.
you know, from 70s and earlier, you know, that they're remaking.
I'm gonna actually try the QR code so we can kind of see what happens. So I'm gonna go ahead and scan the code, open up DuckDuckGo. There you go, Ebbets Field Flannels.
So yeah, if you scroll down, it'll kind of tell you what the team is.
History. Gaze cap worn in the mid-1940s. That's pretty cool. So as a customer walking in, I really get the full story on at least the hat.
For sure,
part, right?
for sure.
So you're in a pretty cool spot as far as the artistic business that you're in, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's an important takeaway for a lot of people looking to start this business. Would you agree that if they had a location unlike this one, that it'd probably be a tough time for them to get traffic in?
It
So
is.
That's an important one.
It's so huge. It's so huge. I mean, you hear that location, but after being in this for a while and really doing it, and also having another shop in a different area, it is critical. You really want to research the other businesses and try to get to know them wherever you're going to set up a shop. You know what I mean? I know a lot of the people on the block here that have other shops. We're lucky to have been here, 12 years. Not a lot of businesses on this block have been there. The skate shop down the block, they're one of the original people too. They've been here over 12 years. It's cool to see the old people, that
Right.
have these old businesses on the shop. So
If they weren't here, though, I would imagine your business would be in a completely different
yeah, there
situation.
was a couple places I was concerned about recently that if they were going to close, it would definitely affect me. Because like I said, some of these other shops send people here daily. They did open back up, but there was over 100 Seattle shops have closed down during COVID.
Yeah.
So like I said, I'm lucky to still be in the game here for sure.
For sure. What are some of your biggest mistakes that you could share with us that our viewers can hopefully avoid?
One huge mistake I've done in the past and that I'm really trying to work harder on now is overbuying. Don't overbuy. You don't want to be sitting on inventory forever. And that can kind of go, depending on where you live, that could be seasonal. Some vintage stores don't really deal with seasonal, but here in Seattle, we do have seasons and we kind of shop for the season because we are more of a boutique. So in summer, we sell tank tops, jerseys, shorts. In the wintertime, we sell more outerwear. But I say that's a big learning curve for me was buying, knowing what to buy, when, depending on the season, and just making sure you're buying what's going to sell.
Thank you, Rio.
Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Appreciate you.
All mine. Thank you. Well, that's a wrap for part 2. I hope you guys really enjoyed this 2-part series of Throwbacks Northwest. What an incredible story. Hope you guys took away a lot of business insight, ideas, some things that you will implement today. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to our channel, and make sure you check out our blog, upflip.com/blog. A lot more content out there for you to grow, scale, and be successful in any business you do. Thank you for watching.